imagine you are a construction company. You would want to talk about the quality of materials you're using. Let me just tell you, no one gives a shit. No one gives a shit. No shit about that, right?
Welcome to Content Kingdom. This is your backstage pass to the people, tools, and the trends shaping the future of content marketing.
And welcome to Content Kingdom. I am your host, David G. Ewing. And coming at you in this episode is Pavel Kolenda, CEO of Backyard Pods. Pavel, what's up, man? Welcome to Content Kingdom.
Howdy. Happy to be here. Thanks so much for having me.
All right. Yes. Now, you are a native Texan, right? That's from what I understand.
That's right. I grew up down here, down the river over here, growing cows, cattle, and riding bulls all my life.
All right. Yes. Well, it sounds Texan to me. So cool. So, and Backyard Pods, man, tell everybody a little bit about that. When did you guys get started with Backyard Pods?
Yeah. So, story started in 2020 when the shift towards work from home began, and a colleague of mine asked me to build a tiny home for him. And
a colleague just like out of the blue is like, hey, Pavel, just build me a home.
I've been doing little construction side projects here and there. So it's been known on the streets that Pavel does construction because I'm a CPA by profession. I was a CFO for a tech startup.
CPO slash contract builder. Okay, cool. Right. A little bit of this, a little bit of that. All right, cool.
That was my alter ego from Excel to hammering things down. And So I started this construction company. I was drinking with my buddies and just having a good time. And they're like, dude, you have to start a construction company called the Polish Hammer Construction, right?
The Polish Hammer. All right.
The Polish Hammer Construction, right? So, all right. Hell yeah, let's do this, right? So the Polish Hammer Construction has been roaming the streets of Austin, and someone approached me with a picture of a competing product, and I said, I can build something like this, just maybe not as ugly. So I put together a design and I got it all done, and I was fixing to go on a vacation. So I sent it over to him and I said, here's what it's going to look like. And then my wife and I headed off to a vacation. So, he was trying to be cautious. So he went over to his neighbors and asked his neighbors also if they would be okay with him building it, just to make sure he doesn't get in trouble with the city of Austin, all the good stuff. So he does that, and both of the neighbors say, "Hey, I want one too, right? I need one." It's not like it's not.
So he sold one.
I will divorce my wife if I don't have this in the next 2 weeks now. So
you've never built one of these before, and this guy shows you just the plans. What kind of plans were these? Were they like a artistic rendering, or what did you do to make this thing?
He just showed me essentially a picture of a competing product, right? And
okay, all right.
It was like your grandma's shed that just had an AC, and I'm like,
okay,
and I'm not very good looking, So I just put together a quick design and sent it to him, and he loved it. Neighbors loved it.
Okay. Neighbor loves it. Neighbor buys it too. So now you have 2 sales.
Now I have 3 sales, right? Both neighbors want it. So
geez. Okay. So you're batting 1,000 right out of the gate here. So nice.
That's right.
All right.
So this is all happening soon after Tesla came up with Model 3, and I don't know if you recall that they sold 400,000 of those cars with just a picture of the car, right? They didn't have even a working example. They said, "Here's a picture of Model 3." And 400,000 people gave them a $1,000 deposit. And I'm thinking, I wonder if I can do the same thing, right? So I very quickly, while on vacation, my wife is relaxing by the pool, and I'm on my laptop making a website and Instagram account. And I found that contract Tesla used, find replace Tesla with Backyard Pod, right? And spent $200 on Instagram advertising, right? And I said, let's see what happens. Lo and behold, by the time we were coming home, I had 15 deposits.
15 deposits.
Sold pods, yes. I came from a vacation with 15 pods sold. So very quickly got to work and started building it on my front yard, built the first one, assembled it, delivered it, took the pictures of the real thing so I can prove this is not a scam. And that's where the story began. So it's been a fun and just as crazy of a journey as that initial steps ever since.
Okay. So from a content marketing perspective, this is just a content marketer's dream, right? Like your first piece of content was this design, and 3 neighbors buy the design. So it must have been one hell of a design. So that's pretty good. Then you go out and you throw something up on Instagram and a simple little website, and you literally hit find replace on the Tesla contract, and just were like, give me $1,000 and I'll,
That's exactly
instead
right.
of giving you a Model 3, I'll give you a Pavel, masterpiece, and from the Polish Hammer.
That's right.
And you have 15 grand of seed capital right there in the middle of the pandemic. So
That's
okay,
exactly what
all right.
happened.
So all right, so and that's the birth of Backyard Pods, then, huh? So that's how it gets started.
That's right. Yes, and we very quickly recognized the importance of social media in marketing. Right.
Okay.
All 15 deposits came from Instagram. Right. We haven't even had any other social media, and I only had maybe 4 pictures on our Instagram account, and it was all renderings from the same guy on Fiverr. I paid like $7 to make those renderings for me. So very quickly we recognized how important is that storytelling in our business, right? So we very quickly started focusing. Not, I was joking that I was running a rescue operation, not a construction business, but a rescue operation where I was rescuing husbands and wives from working in countries, closets, basements, attics, right? All kinds of awkward places that they don't want to be, and actually allowing them to regain their own space and having that office just in their backyard, right? Where you get to come out from your house and then separate. So being able to focus on that concept and just continuously, passing along that idea onto our customers through content has been the absolute key to our success in marketing.
That is amazing. Yeah. I mean, it's funny because, you hear these old case studies in business school, and they say that the biggest thing that the railroad companies failed to realize when they, in their heyday, was that they thought of themselves as a railroad company. And what they didn't define themselves as was like, no, you're a transportation company. Like, people go from point A to point B, and whether they go in a rail car or a regular car or a plane, like, people don't care. They just want to go from point A to point B. Stop obsessing about the railroad, right? And for you, this is kind of interesting. You're building Backyard Pods, but what you've quickly grasped is that you're running a rescue operation. Like, you're bringing sanity to an insane world, and clearly there was a demand for that, right? I mean, because with no credibility, no trust, no backstory, no references, 15 people, which is admittedly like the tip of the S curve of adoption, but 15 people are like, yeah, I'll give this guy $1,000 and let's hope. Like, that's how desperate everyone was, right? Let's just hope that he can do it.
That's right.
So
That's
yeah.
right.
So those are the first 15 customers. By the way, how long did it take you to get the 15th one built?
Probably took several months, right?
Yeah.
Our first iteration was a little bit trial and error, right? And
Yeah.
I'm very focused on delivering a good product. So I never wanted to just get it done and walk away and
Yeah.
try to forget about it. We have a warranty, right? So I wanted to make sure it's done right. So the first 15 were not completely different, but it was a constant improvement, right? By unit 15, it was a slightly different product than
Yeah.
unit 1
So it's kind of worth the wait for number 15, right? Like, probably better to be number 15 than number 1, but all right, cool. All right. So, okay. So is Instagram still your top content channel to this day?
It probably is, yes. I think now a wonderful thing that happened, and there's a lot of happy accidents throughout this journey, but we've been very focused on creating a lifestyle quality content for our Instagram, right? So imagine you're a construction company. To your point, the railroad example, you would want to talk about the quality of materials you're using. You want to talk about the foundation types you're using. You want to talk about how sturdy your structure is, right? All that stuff.
Yeah, the boiler.
Let me
Hoorah.
just tell you,
Yeah.
no one gives a shit. No one gives a shit. Shit about that stuff, right?
Right.
People want to know. People want to see, a guy like just slaying on his, guitar and pulling some cool riffs, right? Because he created a music studio, or someone doing clothing design inside of their unit, which is, another client of ours. We even had an OnlyFans person buy a pod from us, right? So
Wait, a what? A what person?
OnlyFans, yeah. So speaking of content creation, right? One of our initial customers, one of the first 15 customers was an early OnlyFans content creator, right? So we
Wow.
that was certainly interesting construction site where you're like, putting on a roof, and there's a bunch of naked people running around in a backyard, right? And I go, that's how you hit your thumb with a hammer, pretty much. But we're very much so focusing on that, right? Is just like telling those stories of what is the usability, right? How you get to separate like from your family to be focused, but also it's a place of gathering. If you have a barbecue, right, you put your speakers over there, you kind of hang out on the front stoop of your pod. And we've been creating that lifestyle content for a long time now. Now it's 5 years almost. And interestingly enough, we have some customers that have been following us for that reason, right? Because we just try to throw out interesting things there, and they just become customers. Just this Saturday, we had an event at Lowe's where someone said, "Yeah, I've been following you for 3 years now, and it's just never been a right time, but now it is, right? And I just love your content. I love who you are as a company. I've been following you. I love what you guys are doing, and I'm ready to buy from you." So this is very reinforcing for us that creating this culture of storytelling and just fun, engaging content versus just, the boring, right? We're utilizing 2.5-inch screws that are stronger than any other screw, right? That kind of stuff. It really pulls people in and makes it exciting, and creates those not lifelong, but long-term following that we've been able to gain, which is about 20,000 people right now for Backyard Pod.
Wow. So all these different stories, including nudist colonies and all sorts of designers and whatnot. What would you say is the one that got the most attention? Like when you put up a lifestyle story on Instagram, what was the one that really hit the curve and everyone really paid attention?
Yeah. So the most viral TikTok video we've ever gotten, it's kind of interesting, it was a little underwhelming. You just never know how those algorithms work. It was just a very quick, very basic, wasn't even my favorite pod, right? Which that makes you think about the challenges of content, is that when you think you got the right recipe for the perfect piece of video or photography or whatever it is, right? And you think, yeah, this is going to go viral, right? Flops, right? Where, we laugh like crazy making a video. It's going to be the funniest thing ever. 3 likes, right? And then we put something else that we didn't even care about, right? And that just blows up. So some of the things that really picked up was like one very short video just focusing on very brief highlights, right, of our product, and then showing beautiful video. That was the highest viewing. I think we got over 1 million views on that one. A few other ones, we built this really cool geodome in Wimberley, and we did a lifestyle shoot with a very good photographer too, where people just hanging out by the cowboy pool, inside of the dome, outside of the dome. It was just looked very relaxing, right? But again, there wasn't, it was just a very cool, good looking people in the video, but there wasn't anything very special about it. So that it just keeps you on your toes with different algorithms and how they push those things out. It's not really only about what people like. It's more about what is going to hit the right requirements for Meta or for TikTok to really promote it more, right? And therefore more people see it, and therefore as a result, it's an avalanche, right? And it gets exposed to a ton of eyes. So it's always a challenge navigating around that.
Yeah. Do you think there was anything around the timing of those things that was different than, because you must have sat there and scratched your head and said, well, what's different about this video? Because if it was just sort of, run of the mill stuff, it wasn't unusual. It wasn't crazy. You didn't have like a crazy snake in there or like nudists running around, or just something wild. It was just run of the mill, right? But that goes to 1 million views. So what do you think it was?
Yeah, it's we analyzed those, right? So a few things that stood out for us. One, the one that has highest amount of views, it was very simple, right? Like even the overview of our product it was so simple, it was almost inaccurate, right? Where I, as a construction person, I'm like, this is not even disclosing what we need to be disclosing, but the marketing team was like, no, this is good, right? You don't want to say anything more because you start sounding like a boring old man, right? So, right?
Okay.
Second thing that it turns out being very, very impactful is the music behind, right? So picking up a viral piece of music that's currently trending in Instagram or TikTok, and then putting your content to that music and syncing that music to the video to the music helps incredibly to promote that, right? So you constantly have to be monitoring what kind of soundtrack is currently trending, right? And then you have to make videos to match the soundtrack, right? So whether you like it or not, you have to be following those trends if you want to be popular, right? And then the videos and photos themselves need to be well made, but seem casual. That's the kind of a weird thing, right? Like,
all right, yeah, can't be trying too hard,
yeah, you can be trying too hard, but it's gotta be good looking, all right? So now another freaking moving target, right? It's just that you try to constantly hit. It's hard to always get it right. So there's a few tricks, right? Like you do with camera, right? You use a good camera, but you don't stabilize it, so it's like kind of shaky, but it's still good. It's like weird tricks you have to do.
You got to inauthentically look authentic, right? Like
exactly, it's gotta look organic. It's gotta look organic, but it's gotta look sharp. So it's like another challenge.
Nice. Now, there must have been a piece of content that you thought was so off the wall and so unique and so crazy that you were like, "Oh, this is going to be the big one," right? And it didn't. It didn't turn out that way because you already said what was the big one. So, what's something that was like a massive disappointment to you, where you were like, "Oh, that didn't work"?
Yeah. So we did this photo shoot a while back. I have two videos. One is more of a tiny moment than the other one, but we did this photo shoot maybe a year and a half, 2 years ago, and we hired a professional videographer to help us with that, right? And he did a bunch of takes. It was like an all-day thing, bunch of content, bunch of videos, and then he puts it together and sends it to us, and it just looked like one of those Super Bowl commercials you watch. And you just think to yourself, like, what were they thinking? What were like?
What do you mean? Like, it looked too good, or it looked too bad,
or what? It was so cheesy. It was just
cheesy
and so bad. Like there are some, like, how you watch Super Bowl and there's like every now and then like some company comes out of the woodworks with a commercial, and it's like clearly like some 70-year-old executive like came up with an idea and spent $20 million on this commercial, and it's just god awful, right? This is what it looked like. It was like a hard no. Like, I can absolutely not release that.
Yeah.
So but we put the money into it already, so much time into it. I'm like, I can't just throw it away, right? So I have a little bit of a background in photography and videography, and I taught myself how to use basic video editing. So I took that commercial and just pretty much put a machete to it, right? Just sliced it and diced it until it was just bleeding left and right, and then made a little Frankenstein of a video that was actually pretty good, right? So we just thanked the videographer guy and said, great job, right? But never released that video. I probably still have it somewhere. I'm kind of curious to look back at it again. And then we released the one that we edited, and it did okay. It was fine. Yeah. So at the end of the day, it was okay. And the second kind of a disappointment that I've had was more recent. I don't know if you've ever seen those kind of montages where there is like there's this like a super seal tape, this kind of infomercial tape that there was like a huge water gushing out of somewhere, and the guy just slaps a tape on it, just stops
and it stops it. Away. Yeah. All right.
You know what I'm talking about?
No, I don't, but I can imagine it. So, okay. So, yeah. So, all right.
It's like a miracle infomercial.
Miracle tape. Right? Yeah.
So
okay. Which I love. I've always loved those as seen on TV products. So, all right. Yeah. Okay.
So those are just so bad also, right, that they're kind of comical. So I picked up a video of a guy just like slapping tape on a bunch of different leaks, and then I was just presenting problems like not enough rooms to work from home, and then like the guy slaps the tape, right, and stops the leak. Backyard pod, office space. I was like, got fat, boom, slaps the tape. Backyard pod gym, right? Like mother-in-law driving you absolutely crazy, boom, slaps the tape. ADU for your parents-in-law, right? And I'm like, okay, this is gonna get some traction. This is funny, right? Got like 2 likes. Like literally, no one gave a shit about that video, and I was just pumped out because I loved the entire time I was making it, and then that was it. I was the only one laughing. So.
All right. Well, that's amazing. So, all right. So, Backyard Pods has obviously been pretty successful. I mean, it's been 5 years since that first design, and you guys are all over the place. In fact, recently you did announce that you guys have a contract with Lowe's, right? And so from a content perspective, what's been the challenge there for you with content and trying to make sure that like you've got the things that you need to work with Lowe's?
Yeah, so working with Lowe's is a huge social proof for us, right? There's a number of companies doing what we're doing, but it's usually smaller companies, right? So with us being associated with a large company like Lowe's, it is like having a very powerful big brother, right, standing behind you. So very, very excited about that. But now, how do you capitalize on that, right, without bragging about it, right? And also without ruffling any feathers with Lowe's, right? So their legal team is extremely careful about our use of their brand name, our use of their logos, things like this. So we had to, there's a little bit of a red tape before we release any content, a little bit of a red tape before we update our website about the partnerships and things like this. But generally speaking, Lowe's have been an incredible company to work with. They've been very exciting to partner up because they are very much so a company that is focused on DIY, on end customers, and they love what we do, and they're very excited about working with us as well. So it was easy to tune in with them about what they're doing and with what we're doing, and create a content that's somewhat symbiotic, right, and on the same tone.
Got it. So just in terms of making sure that your product information flows through to them and stuff like that, if there have been any kind of challenges that are different than what you had in your regular business, can you walk us through that? How does product information flow? Can you talk about that?
Yeah, absolutely. It's honestly been easier than I was anticipating, right? Lowe's have been great in setting up a portal for us where we can upload some of our information, our marketing materials, right? There's a good amount of content we have to give to their in-store associates in terms of marketing, handouts, and things like this. So they made it fairly easy for us. It's been a fairly new partnership still, so we haven't gotten to a place where we can make a collaboration. There's so many different terms now, but Instagram allows you to collab with each other, right? Accounts, and we would love to be able to do that with Lowe's, which they're still not ready to do. But when they are, that's when we'll be able to bring the associates in, right? And and we do a lot of, as much as we can, we invite. It's all about people, right? For us, it's all about the impact it makes for people. So going back into Lowe's, it's not just about the company Lowe's, right? It's about the people that work at Lowe's, right? We work with incredible store managers, so we try to pull them into our videos as well, speak about how they are involved in the process, and and again go touch onto things like, when you buy your pod and you have to select the materials, you can go into the store and select everything at Lowe's store, right? They have everything there we can have in our pods, right? So working with Lowe's associates to make those selections and visualize some of those things, whether it's colors or your decking material, your siding material, right? Or some kind of furniture you would like to put inside or outside of your pod. So right now it's still a little bit of a groundwork where we are creating, we're focusing on how to incorporate their people into our videos. We're still controlling all of the content, so there isn't too much of an exchange of content with them. Our partnership is forming in a way that their website sends customers to our website, right? So we're in control of all the content still. So that makes it a little bit easier. But I think the next steps will be where we will be uploading things to their website. It is just a little bit early in our partnership to go that far. So Lowe's is rightfully so, and we feel the same way. Maybe just taking those baby steps for now and keeping it the way it is. Got it.
Okay. All right. So it sounds to me like, they're a bigger company. They got a big brand to protect. And so they're going to basically, continue to maintain that while they're also, working and collaborating with you. So that sounds pretty good. Mm-hmm. So when you're not generating leads with Lowe's, is Instagram still your top channel?
Absolutely, yeah. It's hard to say, right? We always ask our customers where the lead came from. Google AdWords is also a big source of leads, so it's hard to ignore, but it's not very much so it's still content. You still have to make advertisements for them and they post it, right? But Instagram is I would say our favorite customers are the ones coming from Instagram, right? They're always kind of, they love what we do. They've seen the stories and they get they're inspired by what we do. So that's usually the most fun customers to work with. I would say probably 75-80% of our customers are from Meta and Instagram.
Wow. Well, hey, would it be cool to maybe take a look at some of your content together, and you can walk me through it?
Absolutely.
All right, awesome. Well, then let's take a look. So yeah, it's backyard_pod, and what we've got is the backyard pod screen, and then you've got some pinned stuff up here at the top here. So what do we got up here at the top? What's all this about?
Yeah, so you get to choose few videos that your visitors get to see first, right? So we try to pick the ones that we think are the most impactful, right? So the first one I think is the one that announces our partnership with Lowe's, if you want to play that. And then second one is talking about what's the difference of Backyard Pod from other companies. And the third one is the one that I mentioned that did really well. It's just photos, but they're very nice, and we got a lot of engagement from those. So I think those are the first ones to visit.
Let's take a look. So this one here, this is your best hit, right? Like with this dome here, this is the winner.
Yeah. We got all right. A good amount of likes over there. Yeah.
Okay. Let's take a look here at. So it's just, this one's not even a video. It's just a series of still images.
Yeah.
Okay.
The still images.
Yeah. I mean, they're nice images, but this one, this is it. This is what goes viral, huh? Nice.
Stuff like this. Yeah. So, so we put it on the stories, right? So this one has about 300 likes, which is not a ton, right? But for a business, it's a good amount, right? And I think it did really well when we posted a story, but reshared a bunch of times, and we just got a ton of engagement.
What if you could turn your property into a source of income?
All right. So that's pretty cool. So walk me as we dissect. This is the one that is introducing backyard pods. So you open up with a what if. What if we could introduce this source of income? So is that why people buy backyard pods today? It's not, because you said before that it was about rescuing people, but has the game changed for you guys?
It has, yes, significantly. So the work from home movement started in 2020, and it took about 2 years for majority of people to settle. People essentially who need rescuing found a way to have a sustainable work from home.
Yeah.
Essentially, they were rescued to a capacity that the demand slowed down for that. So that was a time for us to pivot and find a new primary focus, which was now either multi-generational living, right, or incremental income, or guest houses, or pool houses, right? So, some of those videos focus on different categories. This is all different target markets and target audiences that we define for ourselves, and we have different videos for each one of those.
Got it. Okay. All right. So this one kicks this off. I'm engaged, right? Like all right, I'm in. So yeah, I'd like more income. So
with Backyard Pod, you can purchase one pod, multiple pods, or even connect them to create the perfect rental space. And
all right, cool. All right. So yeah, introduces the product right there. Nice. And a little bit of flexibility. So you can put the pods together now. So I guess you've come a long way since 2020, huh? So.
Yeah.
All right. And let's go to the next piece.
Bulb starts at $189 a month. Imagine transforming your outdoor space into a thriving rental operation. Whether you have a spacious backyard or an empty lot, our pods are designed to fit your needs and maximize your investment.
All right. So walk me through that part. So 189, are you guys financing this, or how does that work?
Yeah, we have great partnership with banks that offer a very approachable, even with the higher interest rates, right? With our smallest units, it's kind of laughable almost that you can add a awesome work from home solution in your backyard for our smaller units, even less than that, like $150 a month, depending how much you put down, right?
Wow.
Which is less than a lot of people pay in their cell phone bill, right? So,
right. Yeah.
And I always say, when you sell your home, you'll get all this money back and enough extra that you'll be able to take your whole family on a vacation to Hawaii or wherever you want to go for 2 weeks. So it's an incredible investment in your property value, and it's also a pretty easy, approachable monthly bill you'll be receiving until you get there.
Yeah. To me, this kind of pivots the idea on its head, because I was thinking about it and I was like, well, I guess if I can scrape together 20 grand, I suppose, or some, I don't know what your pods cost, but just some amount, then yeah, I guess I do this and I treat it like a home improvement project. But yeah, that almost seems like no problem at all. So, okay. So really, is the audience for this not just the consumer, like your neighbor who wanted to buy one for his backyard, but maybe like people who are building like almost like glamping sites or, small, communities using your homes. Is that more the target market now?
Yeah, there's a number of different ones, right? So I would say our primary target market right now is people with a decent size of a lot to be able to add a tiny home with essentially like an ADU, right, that you can live in, right? And there's a number of uses for that, whether it's your children, your aging parents, right? This is becoming a significant market for us as well. It's just, a number of people retiring, right? Instead of putting your parents into a retirement home, right, you have them live with you in their own comfortable space. That's a really wonderful thing we can do for our customers. But the retreats, right, are certainly another avenue. So that's the short-term rental, right?
Yeah. Okay.
So it's, whether it's in Wimberley or somewhere in Hill Country, right, that direction, or somewhere closer to Austin, right? But it's essentially adding that extra space that you can rent out and capitalize on. Our units are built very much so like a hotel rooms, right? So it's not like I'm sure you've had this Airbnb experience where the toilet is in a closet and the shower is outside, and and all that kind of, and you can't have microwave and water heater on at the same time, otherwise all the breakers flip, right? Crap, which we remove all of that, right? So you have an incredibly easy to use, almost like hotel-like experience, but in a space that is unique and also set in nature or in an environment that is kind of fun. So
yeah, wow, what an awesome pivot. So all right, well, that's really cool. Let's see where the video goes from here. So
each pod features high-quality materials and luxury finishes, making them ideal for short-term rentals or additional living spaces.
Well,
From cozy retreats to guest suites, the possibilities are endless. Don't miss out on rental opportunities during major Austin events like ACL, F1, and South by Southwest.
All right, so this is really interesting because I wasn't sure, like, what's the scope of Backyard Pods? Because certainly you definitely are targeting some very Austin-specific events there. So do you guys deliver outside of Austin, or is this Instagram ad really focused and targeted to Austin specifically?
Yeah, this one is certainly right here for our Austin folks, but we build all over, right? We're probably, I would say, hour and a half outside of like downtown Austin in a radius. That's where we build. So we have some projects in Spicewood. We have some projects, as far as almost, we've done some projects in San Antonio. That would be the borders. But the idea is that we are working on building smaller crews in each one of those locations. So we're currently working on building a Houston crew. After we have Houston established, we'll be working on building a Dallas Fort Worth crew. And after that, we'll try to add saturation into certain different areas that we find that we receive leads from, right? So Hill Country is another one. Fredericksburg, for instance, that's another target for us, right? It's smaller than Houston and Dallas, so we're focusing on a more of a low-hanging fruit, like a large city nearby, but we'll be adding saturation essentially to have a designated smalling crew in every little territory that has a considerable amount of demand for our products.
Nice. Okay, so got it. So and that's got to be something that's part of the challenge, but right now, I guess, as you continue to grow and expand your markets, you're going to have to update your content. So that's also pretty neat. Do you have plans to make versions of this content for each of those different markets?
Yeah, absolutely. You have to, right? So we have, if you go back to our video, our Instagram, for instance, you can see there, we have a video for Houston we just made, right? If you scroll, I think just one line down, right?
Oh yeah. Here we go. Yep.
Why is Backyard Pod coming to Houston, right? So, we'll be targeting to things like this. And I think that's where our content is great to become so much more interesting.
Yeah. Okay. I turned the sound off on this one so we can talk about it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So we can, then we can compare, right? Hey, here's what our customers, right, in Des Moines did, or here's what our customers in San Diego are doing, right? And here's what our customers, on Mars are. I'm just thinking big over here, but
yeah,
but essentially that's kind of where you can start having so much more fun with content creation. Is showing all those different use cases in different areas, right? it is just becoming so much more interesting. So very excited for that, because more space will give us more opportunities to be creative and create like really fun content.
Yeah. Got it. Okay. So, so for you, a big part of what it sounds like you guys are doing is updating your content so that you can now approach multiple markets. What other things are on tap for you guys as you think about expanding and growing to the next level?
Yeah. So we're building essentially. We've realized that we have a decent business, right? To satisfy a very important need, right? Whether it's work from home, and in particularly in the currently high interest rates, where a lot of people are sitting on or on a nice low interest rate and don't want to sell their home to have extra square footage, right? They can buy from us and we can add it for them, right? And then only a portion of their mortgage is at the higher interest rate. So we're offering a very unique solution to a lot of our customers, right? So we also spend so much time in creating a good brand. We spend so much time creating a process that is easy for people to swallow when it comes down to construction. Construction is not fun for a typical customer. I don't know if you've ever went through, I know you recently went through a pool building, right?
Oh God,
it's
just
just
in 22.
It is just a nightmare all around, right? So how do we make it not a nightmare, right? And we this is like so much effort went into that, right? So we created this process. So now let's try to, slowly at a reasonable rate, try to expand to new markets, right? So that's what we're trying to do right now in terms of in terms of the markets we're addressing. At the same time, we're always evaluating better ways of how we do things, right? So is there a prefabrication element we can apply to our buildings, right? Can we build some of it in a way we can deliver it on site and assemble it on site and speed up the process?
That brings up kind of like a really interesting question, which is how long does it take? Like when somebody, I thought that now they would just be like snapped together. So are they still constructed on site, or how does that work?
They are, yeah. So that's the challenge, right? A lot of backyards are have very tight ways to access them. So if we would build the whole thing offsite and deliver it, then we have to crane it over your roof. We would have to cut a lot of trees to do that, right? Bother your neighbors. Versus if we build it on site, and our teams are so quick at building it on site, it's almost like if we were to bring in,
is it almost like a set of Legos now, where it's just like panels and you snap them together? Is that
we could? You see, if you do that, we've done it before too, right? It is just as quick, right? In order to make it feel like your home with nice drywall, nice flooring, right? You still have to do a lot of work on site, right? So there's only so much you can panelize, right? And our building crews straight up challenge me and say, we will build it on site faster than you bringing us the panels and making us assemble the panels. And we've done the challenge and they won. And I was like, okay, well, you guys do it your way. You guys do it your way, right? All right. Those guys, and that's the beauty of our product. It's we design a few different models, and guys just do it from memory almost, right? They can just know exactly the measurements, and it's just so quick. It's so impressive how quickly they stand it up and get it going. So so that's what we do. There are some products that are panelized, our competitors, we always look at those and evaluate them, but it's a little bit of a step down in quality, right? Some of them are sold as DIY, where they say like, hey, you and your brother-in-law in 2 days can build it, right? And it's like more like 2 weeks, right? And then you have to the electrician also, right? And then also like when you're done, like, the whole structure feels a little janky, right? So
little rickety back there.
Yeah. So you have to take it with a grain of salt.
All right, great. Well, Pavel, if someone wants to get involved or check out Backyard Pods, where do they go?
Yeah, our website is a great first place. We have a ton of information. We always evaluate to make sure that it's informative. We want to be as upfront as possible. So backyardpod.com, pod.com is our website, and our Instagram. I think, even if you're not ready to be a customer, following us at backyard_pod is a great place to learn a little bit about the use cases and what we do. And we post constantly on stories and our grid. So, you can just follow our little journey there.
All right, great. Pavel, thank you so much. Now, one major question, like, is there any promo codes or anything that we can give our our listeners? Anything like that you've got?
There's a promo code. If you, there's not a place for it, but if you bring up Content Lion, right, you get $2,000 off your pod you buy from us. And you have to say Content Lion and Roar for us. And that's a $2,000 discount for Content Lion podcast listeners.
Are you serious? That's amazing. Okay. Well, that's great. And let's get them on video. So let's make that part of the term too. They have to be on video. That'll be awesome. So cool. All right, man. Well, Pavel, thank you so much. Really appreciate you coming on Content Kingdom, and we'll sign off right there.
My pleasure. Thank you so much, David. You have a good one.
You too.